Hi folks, and in this week's Games That Are Cheap Now, we're going to, as per usual, go through a list of games from online video game sales platforms, that is, digital versions for PC, and see what games I think are interesting and you can currently get for thereabouts €10 or less, equivalent to about 10 USD or less, or even for free, depending on the platforms. To get things started, as you can see, this is a list of Steam games. First up is Frostpunk. If you don't know what that is, you might not be interested in city building games. If you are, you probably know that that's a thing, and that Frostpunk 2 is a thing. So you might want to plop down €6 and check out the first game, and satisfy your need to become the leader of a necrophage. I don't think it's centric. It's an option. You can eat dead people. Society that can barely survive due to the extreme cold. Frostpunk 2 expands on that, as far as I could tell from gameplay I've seen and reviews and whatnot. It expands the political and management side of things, but it loses none of the charm from the first game, so you might want to get started there. Second on the list, Aliens Fireteam Elite. Well, if you like the sound of this, and you like the sound that it provokes on xenomorphs like this, and you like to play co-op shooters with friends, this might be the game for you. It has some problems, but, I mean, it's so cheap. It's fun, especially if you enjoy the aforementioned sounds of guns and xenomorphs right after the other. One right after the other, repeatedly, multiple times, different types of xenomorphs, different types of weapons. Lots of gore. You then have, let's say, Pokemon for not just children, even though I know many adults like Pokemon. It's a sort of a, we've got to collect and hunt down every single one of these type game. Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise are both on sale. At least time of recording. And region of recording. Caveats, buyer beware. These two are, I'd say, potentially difficult to get into. There's menus within menus within menus upon menus within menus. And yeah. I'm told it's much better than the previous iterations of the game, because it's a long standing series. But still, it was a bit hard to get into, let's just say that. Though excellent. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Next up, completely different genre, Little Nightmares, in which you play a diminutive character, diminutive as in very, very small, compared to the environments you're going to be traversing. Horrific, scary environments with horrific, scary, non-player characters that you must remain hidden from. Yeah. Very good game. There's Little Nightmares 2 as well, but again, might as well start somewhere. And that's only €5. Chernobylite Enhanced Edition, post-app, survival, horror, RPG, atmospheric are the Steam description tags, and quite apt. If you are into the Fallout, the Stalker side of RPG strategy, or in the case of Stalker, FPS, you'll enjoy this, potentially. It's a bit rougher around the edges. It's not as big of a production, but still quite enjoyable. Another city building game, Aquatico, that reminds me of a bit of Frostpunk, in fact, but instead of resisting the cold on the surface, you're building on the bottom of the ocean, on the ocean floor, and your enemies are distance from your oxygen sources and your light sources and so on. Don't want to spoil too much. There's things down there. Yeah. On a much lighter note, Untitled Goose Game. So much fun. It's like the body transposal experience you never knew you wanted. You play as a goose, and you comically make everyone's life a tad frustrating through your very, very amusing actions. And although, while the premise can get stale rather quickly because you're playing as a goose, playing as a goose is not exactly very complex in terms of role-playing. You're a goose, and you don't lay golden eggs, or do you? And so, the short game time really helps it out. It does not get tired before you get to the end of it. Very enjoyable. Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom for the platform nostalgic crowd. Nostalgic because, well, Monster Boy is a historic franchise from the times of 2D side-view platforms, I believe from the 8-bit console era onwards. Current iterations do justice to the game concepts, the art style, the gameplay. Not exactly my cup of tea, I have to say, but I can see the qualities. And this, and it's not the only one of the modern ones, modern iterations of the Monster Boy series. Next up, Green Hell. Well, how to put it? If you know what the forest is, and imagine instead of being set in a fictional forest, it were set in a jungle. I know, very different. Forest is not jungle, jungle is not forest. Or are they? Kind of. But in a real world forest, jungle, that is, the Amazon. It's kind of that. It really learns. I want to say steals, but art is always inspiration, and inspiration, well, you inspire yourself from things around you. It's inspired heavily by the forest, as with other survival games, because it is a survival game, and sort of a family of mechanics and expected game options and facets of the game, so you can, of course, survive. Base build, you can... Actually, there's a game mechanic that I haven't seen all that often. It's animal husbandry. You can rear animals. Tapirs, at least, if I recall correctly. Amazonian animals. To survive. And, of course, there's antagonists. It's in the Amazon, so you can guess who. Next up, Pentiment. Well, I'd say a lovely, lovely love letter to medieval monk-copied books, I'd say, and Holy Roman Empire era history from, I'm guessing, the personal interest of the lead dev. If you don't know who that is, go check the page out for the video game in question, and You might actually. I think he has a he has a YouTube channel. Also, lead dev for Fallout New Vegas. If you're interested in why there are different currency types in New Vegas, it's a fairly important world-building aspect, among others. But it shows a clear interest in history and the importance of world building and knowing the world you're trying to illustrate, bring to life. And Pentiment does that magnificently. You might argue it's a bit dull in the art style compared to what Procession to Calvary or the Monty Python cutout sketches were back in the day, but in the same vein of aesthetic choices. And a very good pickup at €12. Last but not least in the Steam list, Yakuza Like a Dragon. What can I say? If you like crazy Yakuza shenanigans, managing a stable of very high-class prostitutes, play mini-games with radio-controlled cars, and it's difficult to describe just how varied and an eclectic collection of mini-games and game mechanics and storylines you will experience playing Yakuza games. Yakuza Like a Dragon is more of an RPG than most in the series, and a welcome evolution, I'd say, that I enjoyed. I do enjoy RPGs very much. So, but at €12 again, you cannot go wrong. A quick trip along to a not very well known or not well beloved, because, well, most people don't use it. To be frank, I only use it because I have Amazon Prime for deliveries, and happily that also includes other things like Prime Video. Every now and again there's good stuff to watch on that. Twitch subscriptions you can get for free, but actually not forever. Amazon isn't making enough money, it seems. They're not making all the money. They're making tons, not all the money, and so they're trying to squeeze that side of the thing. But it just so happens that you can get sometimes free games, and Fallout is in the air, and the platform. So when I say free games, it's Fallout 76, so yeah. But, for the people that aren't looking for an enriching, in-depth narrative experience, but are looking for wacky, fun online with friends with a thin veneer of Fallout over everything, that's the game you want, really. And it's not bad, it's just not really Fallout. But, series aside, the enthusiasm is real. You might want to check this out. Moving on to another platform, namely Humble Bundle. If you have not yet played, well, maybe you're too scared, like I was for a long time. I still haven't finished it. Maybe I need to turn off the 3D Atmos Dolby audio from the game, or it's just so unnerving. Alien Isolation: The Collection. You are a Ripley, not the Ripley, a Ripley, and you essentially have to do what she did. Survive. Well, I was going to say a xenomorph, but there's more than spoilers. There's more than one. Survive encounters with xenomorphs. With very little to protect yourself, you can't kill them. Over the course of potentially too long gameplay and a bit too repetitive in parts, but it's gripping. If you haven't played it, you can survive and stomach really stressful horror games. This might be for you. Or if horror games don't get to you at all. Orwell, ignorance is strength. Well, my brain is really, really mushy and susceptible to good pitches. Orwell, ignorance is strength is a game in which, well, sort of an add-on standalone follow-up to Orwell, but Orwell, ignorance is strength, a game in which you are an agent working in a government organism, organization that has a specific mandate to censor and control and monitor and report on people's lives and communications online and by messaging, and you're essentially the Gestapo of, you're the U.S. Department of State since 9/11. You are the Nazis, you are the fascists, trying to control and listen and gather information on everyone to use it against them. Yeah, or maybe you grow a conscience. That's a thought. Maybe. And you can get these, €2.54. That is a steal. Remothered? I can't keep a straight face on it. This is the video game that caught my attention, not because I know it, not because anyone told me about it, not because I think it's good, because, well, it has the best video game title of all time, if you're a schizophrenic. It's called Remothered Broken Porcelain. And I don't know what that means. This is a collection of words that put together mean nothing. Remothered, as in, were you adopted? Were you actually rebirthed, as in experienced birth a second time biologically, spiritually, figuratively? I don't know. But that fascinates me. Broken porcelain. What? What porcelain? Remothered broken porcelain? I don't know what this is. There is a slightly worrying set of in-game screenshots and footage and the storefront. I can see empty cardboard boxes that I'm pretty sure are supposed to be a barrier. That just irks me. So it's potentially a very bad game. I don't know. Maybe it's a good game. I'm tending towards not, but just the fact that it's crazy. And, well, that's just so bold. It's just so boldly crazy that, for €2.50, what's the harm? Moving on to the subscription part of the Humble Bundle platform, you have, surprisingly, fairly recent games here. Victoria 3, potentially hurting in sales because, as most Paradox games, it still doesn't have a third of the different gameplay aspects that we'll have in 5 years when they will have launched at least 5 DLC packs that will all, for the most part, typically improve in some way the game play, and because Victoria 2 has more of those, Victoria 3 might not be quite up to scratch, even though Victoria 2 has a very clunky, it's an old game by now, very clunky interface, and but still, surprising to see it here, and as far as I know, a respectable entry to the series. If you like grand strategy in the Victorian era, as the name implies, you can pick this up with just the Humble Bundle monthly subscription. Callisto Protocol. If you love space, horror, shooters, you like Dead Space, and if you like worse games in that genre, then you'll probably like Callisto Protocol, or maybe not, because I haven't played it, and it was very impressive visually, but as far as I'm told, gameplay is really not it. Humankind Definitive Edition, again, fairly recent. Well, is there really a competition going on with Civilization? Not really, but it's a Civ-like game with a different turn in how it's played, in terms of you choose and advance cultures, specifically. And it's not really a spoiler, but it's more enjoyable if you would discover that while playing. So that also is a good pickup. Passion Play Squad, no interest, I don't think. Symphony of the War, Carlon, blah blah blah. Terraformers is a city builder, well, in which you can kind of terraform, yeah. I haven't really played it. I've seen it played and reviewed. Don't know too much about it, but if you're a city builder fan, I am. I just pretty much play every single one I get my hands on. So there it is. Excavation of Hobbs Barrow, I've seen in different platforms on sale recently, I think. And it's an exclusively point-and-click adventure game? I haven't played it. It's an investigation game, let's say. Narrative, story-driven investigation game. And yeah, I think I actually, now that I think about it, I think I actually bought it recently. It was in a deep cut sale somewhere. But, well, now I got a double copy of it for free. And on to my platform of choice when purchasing games, NoDRM, GOG.com. And of course, Fallout Fever is on, and Bethesda and Microsoft are trying to cash in on the hype, obviously, and really, if you haven't purchased these games before, now's the time. Sales for pretty much every single one of them. Even Tactics, I believe, though it's not on the list here. I do believe it is on sale as well. But Fallout, Fallout 2, and the traditional isometric, not really isometric, but traditionally called isometric representation. The 3D RPG shooter, like FPS or third-person shooter even, you couldn't change between them. Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, that are built on the same engine. New Vegas with a few extra bells and whistles. In fact, if you were to play Fallout 3, I would advise, if you have the patience to do that, to do it in the Tales of Two Wasteland mod. That essentially brings every improvement of Fallout New Vegas, engine and mechanics-wise, to Fallout 3, and sort of binds the games together, even though I don't think that makes much sense. But mechanically, it's a better experience than the original Fallout 3 was. And then Fallout 4, in my opinion, not the best of Fallouts, as in it's the least Fallout of the Fallouts. Well, Fallout 76 apart, in my opinion, but it's the best shooter of all the Fallouts. And it has base building and has a lot of side stuff that many people enjoy. I enjoyed some of the base construction, but that was actually, even modded, that was pretty much the part of the game that got me playing for longer than I would have, because the main storyline just is bland nonsense. It just makes no sense. Characters make no sense. They have no reality to them. The things they do, the things they say don't make sense in world. So within the game setting, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense logically, but even within the game world, they don't make sense. There's plot holes everywhere. All of the quests, well, not, when I say all, maybe 95% of them, involve you going to place A kill everything, go back to place B where you started off, and so on. It gets tiresome very quickly if all you're doing is storylines. If you don't enjoy the base building, if you don't have the DLCs, but this is Game of the Year, that will have all the DLCs. If you don't go to Far Harbor, specifically, I think is the highlight of Fallout 4. If you don't have the mechanics, so you can't automate and build factories, essentially, in your bases. If you don't enjoy any of that and aren't resilient enough to get to Far Harbor because it's not available to you from the very beginning of the game, maybe not the best entry point. Otherwise, it's the most modern one, easiest to get to grips with in terms of gameplay and graphics and whatnot, without any mods, straight out of the box. It's palatable to a modern audience. And then Mad Max, because, oh yes, if you enjoyed Fury Road, there is another movie coming that this video game is connected to. Indirectly, but still. It's relevant. Furiosa, oh yes, or Furiosa, depending on the language. Man, I'm excited for that. And when I'm excited to watch a movie about a specific universe, I sometimes get the itch to play a game related to that universe. If that happens to you, there's Mad Max. It's mostly driving around, shooting at things, and then driving around and shooting at things, and then driving around and grappling things with a grappling hook, and then shooting at them, and then driving around and shooting at things. And a bit of running and jumping and shooting at things on foot, and then driving and shooting at things. If you're getting a bit tired just from my description of the gameplay, yeah, the gameplay loop is a bit limited. And the game goes on for way too long. But it's pretty, and it's Mad Max. And as you can see, Chernobylite is also on sale here. I think the exact same price, yeah. And then Potioncraft. Completely different genre. If you want to, theoretically, know how to make bombs and elixirs and poultices and all sorts of potions, maybe dabble in alchemy. This is a very interesting game. It is, in some ways, actually, the same medieval aesthetic line as Pentiment Inculinati and so on. Kind of. Not so heavy on the monk scripture type figures, but in the same vein in some respects. Very interesting, unique game mechanics. You're learning recipes, essentially, that your grandmother didn't dare teach you. Yeah. €8.79. And last but not least, the games you can get for actually free, at least while Epic Store exists. Industria and Lisa. Lisa Definitive Edition, that includes, I think, Lisa the Painful Land, whatever other extras were on it. If you don't know what that is, Lisa is a single dev, I think, made game on RPG Maker, I want to say. Yeah, one of those super. It has fairly advanced game design options, because the game, it's essentially an advanced platformer with history elements and so on, a bit of RPGing. And you have it for free. All of the added-on expansion content type things, my memory fails, I don't know exactly how many, quite a few, that's your thing, indie dev, platformer, slightly depressing and dystopian, but cutesy graphics type game, that's for you. Industria, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by the title and the font chosen for the logo. This is not a Factorio-like game. This is not a let's build pretty little and efficient little assembly line production. No. This, and my mushy brain really likes the pitch on this. It fell in love with the pitch. I don't know if the game's any good. I would argue at least interesting. It is a first-person shooter set, get this, in East Berlin during the Cold War. Yeah. So I'm expecting, no offense to Germans leaving East Berlin in the Cold War, I'm expecting brown, carpeted surfaces all around, and brutalist architecture, and Stasi enemies. If I get that, I will be a happy man. If you think that's something that you might be interested in, you know, brown carpeted surfaces while being shot at by the Stasi, you're a weird person like me, but Industria is the game for you. So there you go. And these are the games that I found that you might want are cheap now. Till next time.